Alrighty guys, so I have been really thinking about this topic for a while now, a very long time, and I've now been able to kind of bring my thoughts together, and I think I'm ready to kind of present them to you guys. This is going to be a kind of commentary video discussing certain things that I've seen in the beauty community, such as allyship and also appropriation between various different cultures in the way that certain beauty brands have been releasing certain things. As you can see, my hair is up. I just finished doing a workout. I've showered, washed my hair and everything, so it is going to dry in there, and I'm going to be putting on makeup while I talk about this stuff. If you're wondering what makeup I'm going to be doing, it is this makeup. I'm going to throw a picture on the screen. It was done previously, but I did not record it, and quite a few people asked me to do it, and I figured since I wanted to talk on this topic, I might as well get ready while I am. So in case you want to know the ins and the outs of the actual products, check out down below. Other than that, you'll see me actually applying the product. So hopefully this is enough of a tutorial for those who asked for it. If not, let me know and we can see what I can do. So first things first, your girl wanted to get really in depth, kind of, if you will, with this topic, and I had 3 words that I wanted to define how I was looking at them. Now everybody can look at these words in different ways, but I have 3 words that I want to talk to you guys about first. First, I want to talk about appropriation. So the definition, I'm getting all of my definitions from Webster's, right? I think this is Webster's dictionary. We're going to go with that. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure this is Webster's dictionary. And the definition that I'm choosing for appropriation, it is the noun form, and it says, if I can get some primer on my hands. All right, it says the act of appropriating or taking permission of something, taking possession of something, often without permission or consent. I also want to talk about the definition that I will be using, or kind of getting my understanding or my opinions, if you will, out when it comes to allyship. And that is a person, group, or nation that is associated with another or others for common cause or purpose. And then the last word that I want to define for you all is assimilation. And that is the process of adopting the language and culture of a dominant social group or nation, or the state of being socially integrated into the culture of the dominant group in a society. So those are the 3 words that I think, depending on who you are. Okay, let's take the autofocus off, shall we? Depending on who you are, you may you know, have different understandings of what those words are, and I just wanted everybody to kind of have the same understanding, to understand where I am coming from in this discussion. So definitions out of the way. Now let's go into the disclaimers. I have a background in anthropology, so that is how I'm going to be kind of understanding this topic. If you did not know, anthropology in the most layman terms is the study of humans and people. There are different aspects of anthropology depending on what the person is more interested in. You have social anthropologists, linguistic anthropologists, physical anthropologists, medical anthropologists, etc., etc. There are quite a few different subgroups of anthropology that people can specialize in. That being said, I also, as you can see, am a Black woman. So I am a member, if you will, of 2 very distinct marginalized groups, one being African American or Black people, especially in the United States, and the other demographic that I am a member of that is marginalized is, of course, women. Women historically have always been marginalized more than men. So being a Black woman, it's like a double whammy, if you will. Anyways, disclaimers out the way. Also, these are my opinions. Feel free not to agree. Feel free to comment your opinions and your perspective. I would love to hear it. The only thing I ask is that we all be civil. Please do not attack anybody in my comments. Not that I've ever had anybody attack people in the comments, but you know, it's a first time for everything. So hopefully this video does not promote that in any way, shape, or form. So why am I talking about this? One, a lot of people, I don't know if you know, I actually work in a library system. So working in a library system, right, you tend to do a lot of book recommendations or reader's advisory. And you also just tend to read a lot, and you tend to have a lot of liberal coworkers. So you tend to all kind of, in a way, agree about certain things and always talk about a lot of social issues at work. It's just kind of one of those things I've realized. I've been working at this job for some years now. And so also I'm just more comfortable with my staff members because, you know, or my colleagues, if you will, because I have a rapport with them. I have a connection with them. We've been working together for quite some years now. But the other reason I really want to talk about this topic is because I have found that as we have a lot more social movements in the world, not specifically the US, but just in general, the world, I have found that people have been a lot more critical of makeup brands and what they are releasing and why they're releasing it. And I think also some of these makeup brands may be doing it in a malicious way, but then sometimes they may not. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of key movements or movements that I see coming very, very soon that have really been very movements that have been very important, I think, in some of the critical analysis that people have been giving towards makeup brands. And I want to kind of talk about some of those analyses and some of those instances. And then I also just kind of want to talk about, like I said, the allyship, the appropriation, and of course, the assimilation of the people in those marginalized groups. So some of those various movements that I want to talk about is Pride Month, or just Pride in general, or LGBTQXI plus rights. Then we have Black Lives Matter. Then we have Asian Lives Matter. And I think lastly, something that is on the cusp of becoming a movement but hasn't really gotten its full, I would say, pizzazz in like the media, if you will, is the idea of border issues, Latino Lives Matter, and then also CASA. So all of these issues I'm going to kind of touch upon and how I've seen them reflected in the beauty community and kind of my opinions about that. So let's find my bronzer. Yeah, I'm not gonna play with any new makeup. I'm just gonna use my old makeup. So for Pride Month, right, we see it every year without fail. Brands historically, right, they come out with these Pride Month collections or palettes, which are just glorified rainbow palettes, right? And I'm not saying that these so they come out with these glorified Pride collections that are just really rainbow palettes, right? And it only happens for that 1 month, and then that's it. You don't hear anything else from these brands the rest of the year about pride, about queer rights, about any sexuality rights, anything like that. You hear nothing. And that's interesting, right? Why do they think they can only talk about pride issues and pride months during Pride Month? That doesn't make any sense at all, regardless if you are an ally, so you aren't somebody who identifies with being queer or within the LGBTQXI demographic, that's fine. But there seems to be no reason, in my opinion, why you only want to associate and shed light to the people in that demographic during that 1 month. And that's why so many people historically have found that it's a money grab, all of these releases where, oh, all of a sudden you just want to repackage a rainbow palette that's already in your collection, put packaging on it that says Pride, and say, oh, this is our Pride collection. No, it's not. You just want to get some money from some people because they want to support the Pride collection. And then let's get even further to that discussion, because historically these brands say, oh, we'll donate 1% of profits, we'll donate 10% of profits, we'll give $100,000 worth of money towards all of these different organizations. What is that really going to do? Nothing. Why aren't you doing that more often? Why is it only happening during this 1 month? Is it showing that you're an ally, or are you just trying to appropriate in that 1 month, just try and get some form of rights from what they are really fighting for, which is that they are equal to everybody, that everybody is equal. Nobody should be marginalized because of their sexual orientation, their body makeup, who they decide to love. Nobody. You get all these people who are trying to assimilate to this whitewashed European society, and for what? So that they can continue to be marginalized, so that they continue to be kind of taken advantage of. Why is it that only during that month all of these brands who are historically owned by by white men can find the allyship that people have been begging for year in, day out, to release a collaboration or to release a collection in support of them? It just seems very convenient, so very convenient, that then is the time that they can show that they are an ally. But the rest of the year, it's like, no. When people come to voting rights, it's like, no. So you want to make money, you want to profit off of these people, you want to appropriate their culture and their person. For what? To make money. Then we go to Black Lives Matter. That is a very easy example to show up, and that's as easy as just looking at the Pull Up for Change movement. So with the Black Lives Matter movement, right, you see different things happening. One, you see a lot of brands, once again, owned by white men who are finding their voice to say that Black Lives Matter during Black History Month only. Then you also see a lot of them really speaking out after these vicious attacks on people, whether it's these police killings or just other mass attacks by citizens. That's when they can find the time to talk out. But lastly, where I think it's more critical is when we saw the Pull Up for Change movement, where people really wanted to see in the fine print the brand's demographics when it comes to their staff. How many people of color do you actually have on staff? Where are their jobs? Are they in the executive office, or are they only in the packaging of your product? Where is it that it lies all of your stuff? And what did we see? We saw a lot of brands who either did not show their demographics, or we saw a lot of brands that when they showed it, it was abysmal. It was abysmal. And even after that, right, were they all of these activations about these postings of Black Lives Matters, these postings of all black pictures? Were they just doing it to get the clout? Because they're not showing any more extended rights towards people of black skin tones or darker skin tones. And once going back again to Pride, it's not like we see a lot more collaborations with people who do identify with being queer. It's not like we are seeing this change. What we're seeing is these constant brief moments where people want to be allies to get money to save face, and they're not actually changing. They're just pretending to change so that they can continue to keep the money rolling in. Because let's face it, right? The beauty industry is a huge market where you can make lots and lots of money. So if these huge businesses lose what they deem to be, their market, what are they gonna do? So then let's go into Asian Lives Matter. So this is a fairly, I would say, new movement that is happening where people are, honestly, they bugging, okay? They're trying to blame people who, honestly, it's not their fault by any means about what's going on with the coronavirus, about the spread of the coronavirus, about the origination of the coronavirus, all of that. People love to blame anybody and everybody else except for themselves. Let me just put that out there. So we get all these people who are blaming people who either look like they're from China or actually are from China for the worldwide pandemic that we have. First of all, everybody that may appear to be Asian ain't from China. Please, let's just get rid of that ignorant thought now, because it drives me up the wall that people, oh, are you Chinese? No. Just because they may have Asian features does not mean they're Chinese, does not even mean that they identify as Asian. So let me get off that tangent. Asian Lives Matter. You see a lot of people now posting Asian Lives Matter post on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever. And it's like, but do you really believe that? Are you really there? Are you going to be that person that's going to sit there and say this in the front and not say it in the back? And I think a lot of people will kind of look into the controversy that happened between Nomad Cosmetics and a lot of Asian beauty bloggers and just YouTubers and Instagrammers and all of that. And if you don't know what happened, Nomad Cosmetics, they released a palette called the Shanghai palette, and the theme, if you will, was yin and yang. And a lot of Instagrammers and YouTubers, etc., had some stuff to say about, how insensitive it was for them to specifically create this product, especially with with everything that is going on. I think unfortunately, all of these hate crimes towards Asian lives not been happening right now, I don't think the pushback would have been as bad. And I say that for this instance that Nomad Cosmetics, they've built their whole brand on the idea that they travel around to different countries and they bring what they remember of that trip to their palettes. So I think had this not been that, and also them not be the ethnicity that they appear to be, I don't think nearly as many people would have had as big of complaints. That's just me from my perspective. Once again, your girl is a black woman. I am not Asian, so I cannot claim to be Asian, and I'm really just on the outside on this particular issue. So anyways, they had complaints, and I think another reason why is there was no, like, with all of this going on, there was no, we're going to donate this and that. And even what they decided to donate, if I remember correctly, they only decided to donate like 5% of the profits for that palette or something, which in the grand scheme of things, with a brand that small and with them really like kind of scrapping that whole collection, that whole palette, that is a lot. But once again, were they being allies like they said they were when they said, you know, we wanted to release this palette now to kind of show our support with Asian Lives Matter? Or were they just trying to get as much money as they could right now, with so many people in the idea that Asian Lives Matter, and you know, they're getting like the t-shirts and the stuff to show it? So that's like, I think, in my opinion, one of the biggest telltale signs when it comes to the Asian Lives Matter movement. I think we are still yet to come, although when I was talking, so I have a friend that I actually met through Twitter, and she actually lives nearby me, so we've met in person a couple of times, and we were actually talking about this issue, and she was telling me how she has an issue with quite a few Instagrammers who feel the need to like pull their eye back in their photos, and it gives the appearance of a quote unquote Asian looking eye. And you know, first of all, I never saw it in that way, and I'm pretty sure I told her I appreciate the fact that she told me that, because I quite literally never saw that perspective. And hope that more people talk out about this, because that is something that, like, after it's pointed out, you can never unsee it. And I really hope that these bloggers and these vloggers who are using this kind of quote unquote technique to show their makeup look realize that you don't gotta do all that. You really don't, not to get the idea that you want. So yeah, it's just very interesting how once again people conveniently want to say Asian Lives Matter, but then, you know, the same people who are saying Asian Lives Matter and posting that are still the people pulling their eye back. Why? What is the purpose of that? What do you gain from doing that? Because I don't know. Your girl don't know. And then the last kind of group that I wanted to talk about, which I don't foresee, well, I haven't been alerted or seen any kind of real red flags for this movement. I still, like I said, I think this movement is in its way to coming, is kind of the idea that immigrant lives matter, and that CASA is something that is super important, and Hispanic Lives Matter. We have a lot going on, specifically in the US, when it comes to border patrol and like immigrants trying to come to the US, which is good, but all of the ways some people may think are not the best, because, you know, there are children being left in these climates that they can't fend for themselves, or they're just a lot of people just getting their kids across the border to get them to a better place. And you know, for me, I can see both sides, because there are a lot of countries where it is just not stable right now, and you want to do whatever you can to get your child that stable life. And if it's something as simple as, unfortunately, getting them across that border, some parents, they're going to do it, and they're going to hope that their child can fend for themselves, and that they can, you know, do what they have to do to survive. But there are quite a few people that don't think that way. And in the beauty community, I'm worried that once we start to get to, because I do believe there is Hispanic Heritage Month, and then also like there's Los Muertes and all of those Asian and Cinco de Mayo. I'm concerned, because you're going to start to see all of these brands who historically have given zero cares, zero, to these people and their issues and the things that they face in their countries. And all of a sudden they're going to start to release makeup like, oh yes, we're allies. Oh yes, we're here to support you. And I think that's kind of the whole crux of this whole video, right? Is that you see all these brands releasing all of these palettes, these collections for these holidays, for these special days, for these movements, and they're saying, oh yes, we're allies, oh yes, we're that. But are you really? Let me see the receipts. Let me see the continued support, the continued allyship that you should be doing, whether it is to ensure that all of your makeup is swatched on people of different complexions. Why is it that I see people doing, Black Lives Matters, but you can't get a black person to swatch your makeup releases? How much do you really care about Black lives if you can't do something as simple as that? I mean, come on. You just get like simple things like that. And I think it also is something where we as consumers and critics and even people that may or may not identify with these demographics, we need to step back and say, where's the line? Where's the line between somebody who is showing that they are an ally and somebody who is just trying to appropriate? Where's the line between, yes, they may not be of Black descent, African descent, Asian descent, Hispanic descent, but because they are ally, they may want to create a palette. Do we feel the need that that person needs to donate 100% of the proceeds? Do we feel the need that that person needs to donate 50% of the proceeds? Where is that line where we as consumers, we as a member of that demographic feel that we are not being taken advantage of? Or is it something as simple as we don't want anybody who is not within our demographic using us in any form of way? So if you're not Asian, you have no business doing an Asian Lives Matter collection. If you're not Black, you have no business doing a collection that is Black Lives Matter or talking about a country within the continent of Africa or in the diaspora. Where is it that we feel that line needs to be drawn? I think that is something that is very much a personal decision. And I think that's cool. I think, there are so many different brands out there that if you feel jilted or appropriated or marginalized by a particular beauty brand, it is as simple as just not buying from them again. It is that simple. And I say that in the simple mindset that there, like I said, there's so many brands. So yeah, my opinions, like where I am going from, like what I have seen, my personal kind of opinions is that, I appreciate the more awareness of everybody within this community and within others, but I think we also need to educate ourselves on this kind of, what is the term? The kind of the pretend protest. What is that term where people protest just for the public eye, but in reality they don't feel that opinion? I'm gonna have a couple of books linked down below talking about racism, bias, all of that. I would highly recommend them. Performative protesting, that's what I meant, or performative allyship. And I think that is a real thing. It is a real thing that I have seen countless times within the beauty community. Specifically, like I said, with these brands that are owned by these white men and really only show that they care about other demographics during specific month or specific holidays. And so for me, I am taking note out of all of this. I am taking note of the brands that I feel are time and time again only showing that they care about these people and these demographics during these certain time periods, and I'm just gonna stop buying from them. It's that simple. Something as simple as like the fact that Hourglass can't get it through their skulls that people of all complexions want to try their products, so I have stopped purchasing from Hourglass. I still do have products from them, and I must say I did low-key kind of forget when I saw their cream products, but as soon as I took a step back, I realized this is Hourglass. They can't even provide a decent shade range on their cheek products, so I stopped buying from them. And I think that's something that other people need to do, but also not only to stop buying from them, we need to stop giving them attention at all. There's no reason that we need to talk about these brands, give them any clout, because as soon as they start to see that they no longer are making money, I promise you they will get it together, because at the end of the day, the makeup industry, unfortunately, is a business. It's a business, and that's all people see, care about. Bada bing, bada boom. So if they think they can't make any money anymore because they're all of a sudden not supporting people of color, regardless of the demographic, I can promise you that they are going to change their tunes and get it together. But that's kind of where I'm at. I do kind of want to caution us all, and I try and caution myself on this as well, that you don't want not only to be a performative person on your own stance, but you want to try and be as informed as possible. That's why I read certain books. Like I said, down below I'm going to have certain books linked for you guys. There's one that's called Biased. It was written by a social psychologist. There is a couple like White Fragility. We're talking about, the white kind of perspective on racism and stuff, and like why they're so fragile about talking about racism. There's also one that I still haven't gotten around to, and I do want to read it, and it is specifically talking about the fake performative socialism that we've seen, or social activism that we've seen on the perspective of whites when it comes to the murder of George Floyd. And I think that's really important right now, specifically because the case against the officer that killed George Floyd, which I'm not going to even give him any clout by saying his name, is actually going on right now. And so I think just overall, we just need to be more informed consumers, but we also just need to be smarter about our money. Yes, unfortunately, there's always going to be some person somewhere that is going to just take the idea of people of color or people of a demographic that they don't identify with and try and make money off of them. And for me, if you're asking like, well, okay, what about these brands who, they do support queer rights all year long. They do support Black rights all year long. They do support Asian Lives Matter all year long, but they're doing these particular collections. What do you need to support those collections? For me, I do think that they should be donating. Like I said, the beauty market makes so much money, and something like 1/10 of sales from these brands like Too Faced and Hourglass and stuff, it's a lot. Now, do I think they should be making these types of donations a lot more, and maybe even year round? Yes, but is it my place? I don't really know. Like I said, I think for me, I'm just going to continue to support these minority owned brands. I've already kind of always been an independent owned brand kind of really supporter, but now I'm really taking the time to look to see, are they Black owned? Are they Asian owned? Okay, I want to support them. I'm going to put my money there, and that's where I'm going with all of this, because at that point I know that they're not trying to appropriate either my culture or their culture. They're not trying to be an ally, and I'm not questioning whether they are a faithful ally. I'm not questioning if they're a temporary ally. I know that this is their culture. I know that they're trying to uplift. They're trying to provide the range that people need to have very similar looks to other people of lighter complexion. And I also know that I don't have to assimilate for them. I know that I don't have to change my diction, the way I talk, the way that I move my hands, this, that, and the third, to feel like I'm not being judged by them. And these are all things that only people of color can really know. Even if you are an ally and you are of light complexion, you really, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever you want to say, cannot really know what it feels like to change yourself, to fit into whoever you are or wherever you are, whether it's your work, whether it's social media, whatever. You have never had to whitewash yourself. You've never had to change yourself to do that. And so just for me, the idea of these brands that are white owned supporting people of color by releasing collections that are maybe highlighting a culture that they are not a member of, I think that at this point in 2021, just don't touch it. Just don't do it. If you want to promote and if you want to be an ally, I think in this day and age, what you should do is release something within your scope, right? But just give portion of those proceeds for that month, for 2 months, or whatever, towards whatever group that you want to support. In my opinion, that's how it needs to go, because it gets too messy and you just don't touch it. Just don't touch it. You just don't. Anyways, let me pull out my hair. Hopefully it is somewhat dry. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my face, and then I'm gonna come on here and just give final thoughts on what I think is going to be happening in the beauty community when it comes to kind of these topics that I have talking about, and just kind of what, like I said, final thoughts I'm going to be doing. So I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, so the product has not fully absorbed in my hair. My hair is still rather wet, so we're just not going to judge that. We're just going to look at the face and we're going to finish up this video. So for me, right, like I said, just rounding out my thoughts, I think that as a person, personally, as a Black woman, I am just going to focus in on picking up products from people of color brands. That being said, I'm not going to not buy from any brand that is not a person of color owned, but I am not going to be as bent out of shape if they don't have a range that is going to work for somebody of my complexion, because I am sure that there is a range from somebody else that will work for my complexion, and we're going to leave it at that. For me, as for these performative collections that I'm sure are going to be coming like hotcakes in Pride Month, in Asian Pacific Islander Month, which happens in the summer in the US, and that already happened in February for Black History Month, I'm just not going to check for them. Just for me and my conscience and just how I am, I just don't need that performativeness. If I want to support somebody of Asian descent, I'm going to support them year round. Same with any other descent. I'm going to support you year around, and I'm going to hope that you're going to support me and still think that my life matters. And that's what all of these kind of movements, in my opinion, are all about. Just saying that everybody matters, everybody's life matters. No, it doesn't matter if they are the same as you, if they have a different sexual orientation than you, they have a different skin complexion than you, they come from a different country than you. It does not matter. Only thing that matters is that we all come together as humans and work together, because at the end of the day, we're all equal. That's all I got to say. I would love to hear what you have to say down below. Please go ahead and fire away. I truly am interested. I would love to hear different perspectives, especially if you are from a different complexion, if you're from a different a different country, if you live in a different country, so you have different issues there, if you have a different complexion than me, if you have a different ethnicity than me, I would love to hear down below. Really quickly, let me just tell you the shades of the Kaledios palette that I used. So I used Red Giant in my crease, then I put Void in my actual crease. So I used Red Giant more in my transition area. And then on my lid, I used Gravity. And to cut my lid, I used my MAC paint pot. That was, I think, the main thing that you guys wanted to see from my look the last time. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same look. I hope. You know me, I just be fooling. Oh, and then also on my lid, I also sprinkled a little bit of the shade Firefly, which is the green metallic in this shade, but I didn't want it to be opaque, so I just kind of lightly dusted it on top. So that's it. That's all your girl got. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sound off down below. I would love it if you guys give this a like, and if you are interested in this and you want to hear more commentary, I might throw some more commentary in on my channel, but I would love it if you would subscribe as well. And as always, y'all, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.